Welcome to the show today. I'm Chris, your host. We just had in the studio our in-house content creator, Alex, talk about a really specific and special journey he's about to take. He's going to fly to Thailand for a hair transplant surgery, not his first, but his second. And this one was particularly a subject I want to talk about because maybe in the last 10 months, I've noticed my own hair thinning right around the top here. I'm actually purposely not going to be tilting my head down because I don't want to show it because that's how anxious I am about this subject. I've had conversations with friends. I've recently had a conversation with my wife about my own lack of confidence and the stress that I'm putting on myself about my own hair and what that means for my self-worth. And I think you can tell that I'm just very nervous about the subject of losing hair and going bald and being old. And I'm I'm less than 2 years from being 40 years old. So this is just something that I think men in general either outwardly or quietly struggle with. So one thing that Alex has always been great at is being open and honest and letting us know how he really feels. So he's going to tell you how he feels about his journey with his hair and what he's going to be doing in this procedure. We'll give you some facts in case you were curious about hair transplants or other measures that you can to improve the quality of your hair. But really, it's just a conversation about a dude who's very secure about what's going on top of his head, and another guy learning about it. And that other guy is not so confident, but wants to know. So here we go. Tune on in, and I hope you like it. Hey, Alex, how's it going?
It's not too shabby.
Thank you. I'm just going to go out the gate and say it right now is I have to speak with the same tenor and delivery in my vocals because for the past 3 episodes that I've hosted, people are like, why can I only hear Chris at some points and barely hear him in others? Apparently it's because I am so dynamic in my range. Sometimes I'm very excitable and sometimes I'm very, very pensive. And that shows in the vocal mix being very, very hard to manage. Could you elaborate on that at all?
As the man that has to edit said clips, actually with bringing in AI, it's not been too bad because obviously, like, I'm not. A lot of that editing range has been removed for certain things like clips.
Yeah.
But when actually editing the audio that goes towards podcast, yes. Not gonna lie, babe, your voice is a nightmare.
I'm sorry about that.
Microphones are just built in certain ways that you need the person speaking or singing or whatever needs to kind of know the level they're gonna be at.
Yeah.
And so that we can work with that.
Okay, so I will promise to be consistent in this episode.
What you're doing right now is perfect.
It's like 100% in my head right now.
Yes.
Anyway, aside from that, how are you doing today, buddy?
Not too bad. I just started my training for my half marathon at the end of the year.
Here we go.
I think, was it 1st of December?
How many half marathons have you done before this?
Oh, let me see. 0.
Okay. Is this something out of the blue? Was this something on your to-do list for 2024? Where does it stand with your goals in life?
I think it's something. It's putting myself in a position to be like, listen, this is not going to be fun.
Yeah.
This is probably going to be a terrible idea.
Okay.
But just, hey, give it a stab. I think most people at my age are having a sort of that early midlife crisis of either you do high rocks, you be one of those boring people, or you be one of those boring people that join run clubs. I refuse to do either of those, but running sounds like the easier pain out of the two.
Okay. My brother-in-law got into smoking meats. So
meats.
You can also get into that.
I mean, I have always enjoyed carpentry, so maybe I'll get into some woodwork later down the line. But as of now,
all right,
I'm trying to stay healthy, and I think also it comes to a lot of laziness for me. So ideally, instead of having to think about, I mean, look, I'm preaching to the choir. I have a gym full of coaches who I work out with at the same time.
One of which wrote your programming for your half marathon, so you're good.
Absolutely. But I'm so lazy in the fact that I can't even be bothered to read that thing.
Yeah.
If I am, let's say, inebriated the couple nights before, the night before, I will come in and go, I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
I would like to just.
This is all, of course, only in theory.
In theory, okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
it's hypothetical.
Because it did not happen in the last 48 hours.
Never. So yes, for me, it's more on the case of I'm just a bit lazy, and I would rather just do a painful 31 hour. And to what my goal is a 2-hour run consistent. To me, that is just very doable.
Okay. Well, I wish you well on your journey into your half marathon. Keep us posted.
Thank you very much.
And don't be shy if I stick a camera in your face when you're running out there or in here, wherever.
By all means, you go ahead of it.
So on that note, yes, Alex, you are our in-house content guy. Many thanks. If you see us on the Process Programming, the Process Athlete, the Process Affiliate, even our coaches' personal content channels, Alex is almost always the guy behind the camera making that stuff happen.
To be fair, there's also some days where I am unable to get content.
Yeah.
Chris is my fill-in.
Yeah.
The only other man in this building who probably knows how to use an operator camera.
Sort of, yeah.
No,
I'm your substitute teacher.
You know how to use a camera. If I like talk about ISO f-stops, like anybody else in this gym is going to have no scoopy.
I just pretend I know. But yeah, I'll fill in there. But today, the point of our conversation is one of the other things that you've been looking forward to in 2024 is a specific procedure. Could you really quickly tell us about what it is you're going to be walking into by this weekend?
Yes. On Sunday, I will be having a graft procedure to remove hair from the back of my head to the middle section or crown section of my head in the aims to have a thicker, fuller head of hair for later me in life. My future self.
Cool. So, I was actually surprised first because you offered to talk about this subject, but I've also had this in the back of my mind to talk about not only in the podcast, but just like in general. It's been something that I've been thinking about as well. We can get into that in this conversation also. But thank you for being open and honest about this conversation. I think it's something that men in particular, I mean, everybody, but just looking at how social media goes, seeing so many famous people in the fitness space and elsewhere showing their procedures and seeing a crown full of red spots that turn into scabs that turn into 6 months from then, a beautifully thick, full head of hair. It's tempting to think about that if you are starting to see your hair thin or your forehead growing farther up and back and all these different things. So we'll get into those parts of the whys and wherefores for your journey, but specifically for you, I know this isn't your first procedure. So can you kind of walk us back of when was the first time you did it? How old you were, why you decided to do it, how it's been, and why you're doing it again. So just kind of lay us down with the most objective scientific
no problem.
points.
I'm going to give you, I'll tell the story.
Yep.
Terrible in maths and it's going to take me too long. I'm 28. I had the first procedure in 2019. You figure out what age I am and I'll tell the story.
23.
23. There we go. Okay. That's how much I don't remember. My father, famously bald.
Like all your life?
A lot of it, like, I think he started balding at 21. And I would always just I went from having a Bieber haircut to having the sort of pullback that I have had now.
Okay.
And I started noticing that the corners of my front line were starting to start receding in. But I'd always told myself it was like baby hairs. Like, they'll come back. It's okay. They're still there, no problem.
Yeah. You were getting that widow's peak?
Correct, yes. It was an island was forming. And I had told myself that, there's certainly ways to get around it. Like if you've ever heard of the product Topic, which essentially is just spray on black fiber hair.
Okay.
I was in denial and I was coating myself.
Oh gosh. Okay. You also don't have black hair, so.
Well, no, they have different colors.
Okay.
So luckily there's the light, darkish brown version.
And it mixed in pretty well?
Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. But the thing they don't tell you about, disclaimer, I don't know if this is true, but certainly from my experience, when you use this stuff, it basically suffocates your pores, which causes the hair that you are spraying on to die quicker. Now, I don't know that's for sure.
Sweet.
No sue. Please, no sue. But yes, so I realized that I was getting on in life. It was getting progressively worse. And at that time, I was living in China. So I finally got the courage, did a bit of research, and found that Turkey is probably, if not the number one capital for hair transplant, it is one of the most affordable places.
I would also say maybe they have the best marketing because in my IG algorithm, almost half of the ads that I see is going to be some type of hair transplant procedure from Turkey.
Yeah. And same for me as well. You start doing it, you start getting the sort of messages from that direction. So what I had realized was, after doing a bit of research, I found this company who were very nice, went into their office in London 6 months before the procedure, had myself the sit down. They'd go, oh yeah, no problem. Like, we put down the deposit, all good, all cushy. And I'm living in Shanghai this time, so I book my time off work, out of my holiday, fly to Istanbul, have a couple of days in Istanbul, walking the streets, and day of the surgery, go in, meet my doctor, lovely man. He draws the line of where I want my hairline to be, and then we're talking about the front here, so where I would be having it.
Kind of like almost a tattoo artist would go in with that purple marker and say, hey, is this what you're happy with?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Basically just being like, are you happy with that? Cool, let's go. And then you get taken off into the room where they shave your head.
Oh.
And a nurse starts talking in the background. And then another nurse comes in and they're talking. And they're talking in, oh God, I'm going to sound, the language of Turkey is...
Isn't it Turkish?
We'll go with that. Turkish. They're all talking Turkish. And another nurse, and another nurse, and another nurse comes in, and another doctor comes in. And I'm thinking, they're all staring at the back of my head. What's going on?
Yeah.
And eventually a nurse turns to me and says, hi there. Sorry, we're not going to be able to do it today. You're going to have to come back next week. And I go, right. Well, I live in Shanghai. Right. And this is probably the most expensive buzz cut I've ever had in my life then. No, I can't do that. And essentially what this all stems down to is that Turkey doesn't have... me and you can go to Turkey tomorrow, open up a hair clinic. We don't require a license.
I see.
And I think what had happened was I had a bit of eczema on the back of my head.
Okay.
And I think this company just went, it's just not worth the hassle. It's just not worth it. So I was like, okay then. So head shaven. I sheepishly, sort of not sheepishly, my head in shame, I sort of take myself back to the hotel, speedy pack, get myself on to the airport. And if you go to Istanbul airport, you will see a lot of people who are flying with the bandages of having a hair transplant, but I didn't have that. I was just bored.
Yeah.
And flew back to the UK and sort of felt sorry for myself for a week. As then I found a company in the UK that could then do it. And typically in the UK, a hair transplant is somewhere between £27,000 to £30,000, which in Hong Kong dollar or close to be RMB is about 300,000 Hong Kong dollar. It's not cheap.
Yeah.
And I found a guy in the UK that would do it for 3,000 instead of Turkey's 1,000. And I got it done there. And the rest is history.
I wanted to quickly interrupt this episode with a quick shout out to our sponsors, Today Well Spent. I've been using this journal for 2 years and it has made a massive impact on my physical, but mostly my mental well-being. It is a guided journal backed by neuro and behavioral science, which I actually didn't know at the time. It has questions for you to answer at the start of the day, at the end of the day, end of every week, end of every month. And it's brought so much self-awareness to me of the things that positively and negatively impact my life. So if you're someone who cares about your physical and your mental well-being, which I think you do because you listen to this podcast, then go and grab yourself a Today Well Spent. Use the discount code THEPROCESS, one word in capitals, to get your discount.
Wow. Okay. So,
and I was 23 when I got it.
Yeah. So it's a big investment, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Like by that standard, how much of like your monthly salary was spent into that procedure?
Oh, I was just saving.
Oh, okay.
It it was even. I remember asking for a bit from my parents, just to get over the hurdle.
The point is, it was significant.
A huge chunk.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to do, just to kind of give a little bit of data as context, is I did a little bit of research on the market of hair transplants.
Nice.
And here, I'm going to read off this one thing. Market size. The global hair transplant market was projected to reach several $1 billion, with estimates often ranging from $2 billion to $5 billion in the mid 2020s.
Wow.
Growth rates have been reported around 15 to 25% annually, driven by increasing awareness of hair loss solutions. So this is a data point that confirms some bias on my end, that this is a very, very common procedure now, and people are very commonly taking it to the point that you go to the Turkey airport and you're seeing a lot of guys with bandages on their heads, having gone through the procedure themselves. For you, knowing that this is a significant investment, you had to borrow money, and it was a lot to do, and you had to fly around and look for different options. Why was it so important to you? One of the things that you did mention is that, you know, you always knew your dad as a bald man. Why was it important for you to restore your hair?
Very good question. I think, first of all, it back in the day of my dad, a hair transplant was seen as one, very early science, and a huge luxury. He was not willing to spend that money, and there was always a huge stigma in the UK behind hair transplant. I don't know the name, maybe you could search him, but there was a very famous pools player who got like one of the early day hair transplants where they would just cut the skin off your head with the hairs attached to it, open a wound in the area that required it, and then just sort of slap that bit of skin on.
Oh, buddy.
And if you look at pictures of him, it looks like Frankenstein-esque, because like the skin isn't growing back in the way it should be. And I think that there was a huge stigma behind that. It was a scary procedure that wasn't guaranteed to be that would work. And I think that's all I knew in a sense. And then I think my earliest recollection, other than that, was Wayne Rooney, famous British football player, again, famously known for being bald, who got it done. And there was a lot of commenting on, you know, if you have hair, it doesn't change your beauty, that he was still seen as somebody that was unattractive, even though he had spent all this money trying to fix this thing.
I see.
And I think go back to your original question is that for me, if I don't have hair, I don't think I'm the ugliest person in the world, but I do believe that it's improving my looks to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And that justifies it in my mind to be able to have it. Because where in the old days, being bald almost sort of gave you Jason Statham status of...
that's always the thing I think about, is like not having hair. Yeah, Jason Statham's a good looking guy, and he can rock a bald head.
There are some famously... there's some famous actors who have bad hairline. I mean, Jude Law, a very attractive man.
Yeah.
Terrible hair. Well, not terrible, but like not the greatest of hair.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to go at for my example.
You could have been just like Jude Law.
I could have, you know, what a shame. Oh, well. For me, it was important.
Yeah.
Because I had lost my hair at a very early age. And I've always said this, is that losing my hair after 30 isn't as big as an issue as losing your hair when you're in your early 20s. So getting that first procedure done was imperative to my confidence.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say, in getting it in those early years, being fortunate enough to have a first world problem and have it fixed was life-changing. My confidence went through the roof, and I'm so grateful to be able to be in an age where I could have that procedure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm from England. My dad's bald. I drink hard water. The British are famously bald.
Okay.
But yeah, to answer your question, it didn't matter the price realistically.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, £30,000 is not great.
Yeah.
But if needed to save up for that price, I think I would have.
Okay.
It would have been later down the line, but I think I would have rather have had a hair transplant and have the confidence to go out the rest of my life and do the things I want over saving it for a house.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as an investment,
Mhm.
and talking about in the 90s, it was kind of a joke. I remember, one of my favorite movies in the 90s, The Cable Guy. The protagonist boss, he famously had hair plugs, and it was very obvious, and that was like always like he was always the butt of the joke for that kind of stuff. So growing up in the 90s, didn't think the technology was there. Also, I was just a kid and that didn't matter. Now, I didn't know that you had a hair transplant. I just thought you had a really good hairline. But that's just like you being a dude in his 20s who takes care of himself up there at least.
I wouldn't say that or take care of it. No. I mean, just avoid that. Like, I was watching the Eric and Lyle Mendez.
Oh yeah, the Menendez brothers.
Yeah, and him at his age, his status, he was wearing a toupee, and I remember this almost had sort of a flashback as kids watching cartoons of characters who got embarrassed by wearing that.
Yeah,
and I think that also plays into my memory of the stigma behind men trying to hide their baldness.
Yeah,
the comedic sense of, oh, look at him, he has no hair.
Yeah, it's a punchline.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that, again, played into that idea that it's like, you're good looking if you have hair, you're a freak if you don't.
Yeah.
Unless you're strong. But that I don't believe actually that is the case now. I think it's more a jar that people are going to see me. So today is the 28th of October.
Yeah.
I will be having my procedure on the 1st of November.
Right.
And I will be returning to work.
Yeah, Friday. Something like that.
Sunday.
Oh.
It's either 30th or Sunday. Well, that's right.
Anyway.
No, 1st.
Yeah.
1st. I will be returning back to work. And of course, everybody is going to look at me a bit weird.
Yeah.
But that jarring sense of change fades very quickly.
Well, let's take a step back, because one of the other things I want to do with this conversation is equip people with information if they are curious about this. So, I mean, one of the other things I looked up was there's different types of procedures, the most popular being follicular unit extraction, FUE, and follicular unit transplantation, FUT. Number one, what is the procedure that you got? And could you just briefly describe how it works and, describing to ultimately the healing process, including how you're going to look when you get back.
Yep.
This is something I'm really not familiar with, and I want to be able to help people out with that information.
Yep. So I originally got FUT, which is the second most modern transplant service. FUE.
That's the other one.
Is I believe is the newest one.
Okay.
Simply put, they will inject liquid underneath the space between your scalp and your skin.
I'm looking up because I'm trying to visualize all this. So go ahead. Describe it to me.
If you're looking at the video here, they inject it. That allows them to then extract the root of the hair that is back on the back of your head.
I see.
They then leave it in a chemical for about an hour. This magical chemical that seems to make this hair last forever. They then numb your entire head or numb the area of transplant, and they will make little tiny holes all over your head, and they will put those fibers into those holes. And the other thing is that those holes are not closed.
Yeah.
So the next 3 days, it's imperative that you don't touch your head.
Okay.
Which is actually my advice to a lot of people, is understanding that the procedure itself is like any medical procedure.
Okay.
You're gonna be a bit sore during and a little bit afterwards. But a hair transplant is like getting a scab the size of your head on your head and being told you cannot touch it, otherwise you are literally wiping money away.
Because you're wiping away the follicle from the new roots.
Correct.
Oh, okay. So we're talking about like, it's as itchy as any other scab.
Yes.
So you have to fight that urge.
Yes. And also you have a banging headache for 5 days.
The headache comes from
your head being wounded, essentially.
So it's like it's a surface headache.
Correct.
Not like a deep tension headache, but still.
Oh no, it's
Unpleasant.
like a migraine at
Oh,
points. It really gets bad.
Um,
Waking up and having a consistent migraine for an entire day. I think the second day was the worst day for me.
how long is the procedure itself?
It ranges between 9 to 12 hours.
And are you awake the whole time, or
Yes.
what are you doing?
Well, that really depends on the provider of the service.
What does that mean?
So the guy that I got it done in the UK
The guy, yes.
didn't have quite the fanciest of setups.
Okay.
Probably suggested why it was so cheap. I had to listen to audiobooks for the entire 12 hours.
Like his audiobook? Like, you guys are listening to together? What's going on here?
I think I was listening to Alien
Okay.
on audiobook form. And I'm not a big fan of audiobooks.
Yeah.
I can tell you that the best way I can describe it is that 12 hours is like Cold War torture.
Okay.
Because you're
That
never...
you signed up for?
I signed up for it. I agreed to it. But that 12 hours is tough. You are bored out of your head.
And you have to sit up?
You are
reclined? What's the deal here?
Originally, you start on your front, where they take out the back. You're then moved to lying on your back.
I see.
Where they have access to just straight into your head. And the ones that I had seen that were good, they had like televisions at eye level on the roof.
Okay.
Mine sadly did not have that.
All right.
And I also wonder, because I was asking a few people and they were saying, some places have that because their doctors get distracted and end up watching it. And I thought, okay, maybe an audiobook is actually better.
Yeah.
So after that procedure, you are in a lot of pain.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why I say Cold War torture is because your head is numbed. So you don't feel the procedure per se. But you hear it. And when I mean I hear it, it's like Plyrostone being sort of ripped. It's a very high pitched noise of your skin being opened.
Okay.
And then putting the hairs in. And that's over, for me, that will be another 2,500 times.
Uh-huh.
So it's like a very high pitch. And what that does in your brain, it almost translates to feeling.
Yeah.
So you can't move. You can't do anything. You're bored out of your head and you're hearing this very soft but very high pitch, almost, like high-pitched tone of your skin being opened over and over and over again. Eventually, the anesthesia,
Anesthesia?
No, the to numb your skin. What's
There's Novocaine for your mouth.
No, not quite for your mouth. It's just to numb the local area of your skin.
Yeah, local anesthesia.
There we go. That eventually wears off, and the pain starts to
during the procedure.
During the procedure, and you just have to tell them to give you a top up.
Oh, I see.
And then things are okay. But you're going between torture, boredom, and pain.
Yeah. So
for 12 hours.
Okay. Number one, I'm thoroughly grossed out by this.
Oh yes.
I didn't know it was that thoroughly feeling things and hearing things and sensing things and also being left to your thoughts and trying to listen to an audiobook and balancing all these different things and understanding that this will get better 6 months or so from now, right? It's all an investment to looking better up here in the future. Back then, when you did it the first time, you were 23 and, you didn't want to be losing hair at such a young age. Mm-hmm. Now, you're 28 and you are not single. You're in a very loving relationship.
Very loving.
Is the motivation different now that you are closer to 30? Now that you are kind of off the market, as it were, to have to be attractive? What is the motivation this time around, knowing what you're going to walk into?
It's funny that you said this. Me and my partner had this conversation last night. You say, "Are you doing this for me?"
I see.
Well, not so much. Am I doing this for her? Am I pressuring her into doing it?
Because she doesn't care. Is what is her point?
But I think that's a lie, though. I think there is a level of care. You want your
gonna release this episode pretty soon, so
you want your partner to look good. And for me, this is an area in which there's two areas. I'd like to be physically fit. I'm not expecting to be like Ant or I'm jacked as shit, but as long as I'm healthy,
sure.
that's good for me.
Yep.
And number 2 is the general look. You know, I've got on the bandwagon now of moisturizing, making my skin, try and save my skin for as long as possible.
Okay.
And wanting to do that for her, because I think that's only fair that you want to look good for your partner. You want your partner to always see you attractive.
Sure.
And I think the reason why I think that a lot of people have said to me, why didn't you wait until 30 to get this procedure done? There's 2 things that kill hair follicles. I mean, doctors really can't agree on what actually kills hair, but there are 2 things that very strongly have been shown in scientific data to show that kill.
Lay it on us.
Smoking and stress. Stress being the number 1. When you are stressed, your hair just drops out like anything.
And you're talking from experience.
I'm talking from experience where it has been difficult in my field or difficult in even just starting here at Coastal.
Yeah.
Trying to fit in, trying to find myself in Hong Kong.
I see.
And I think that's where I noticed it become, where it started to drop out at a rapid rate. I was in Shanghai. Life was quite easy, quite simple. And then changing and doing something new and putting myself through the challenge, it was stressful. So I'm in an area where I feel much more confident now.
Yeah.
And for me, the next chapter is wanting to know that I'm willing to keep my body in check, healthy, and that I look good for my partner. So when she asked me, is she pressuring me? No. I would say it's my obligation to take care of myself.
It's your expectations for yourself.
Yeah. I need to make sure that I hold myself to the same accountability of looks and standard that I would want her to hold herself to. She is far more healthy than I am.
Okay.
Far more healthy. My God, that girl lives at the Pilates studios. She doesn't smoke. She barely drinks. She is a lot fitter, far more beautiful than me. But that's the thing. Like, though I view her as an absolute angel, for me, I need to turn and look at myself and have a pretty hard look in the mirror and go, there's an area we can improve on. How do we do that? We give ourselves 6 months of hell.
I see. Okay, so you are committed to doing this.
100%. And it's not because of her. It's to be a better self. And also, I'm looking forward to just seeing the confidence boost. It's very ironic that stress being the number 1 killer, the more you notice the thinning, the baldness, the more it plays into the stress, which means more hair growth falls out even quicker.
Yeah, it's that positive feedback loop. I can speak to that personally, since I think the first time someone mentioned about my hair looking not great up back here, because on the front looks all good,
thick as.
But my buddy, who's about as tall as you, he can see the top of my head, and he's like, "What's going on back there?" And that was like last Thanksgiving, and I'm not kidding when I say every day I've thought about it ever since. And every day when I'm doing my hair, when I'm drying my hair, I just got out of the shower and I was drying my hair and I was taking a look at like, how is it laying right now? You know, every day that I choose to wear a hat, every day that I fuss over, you know, the styling of my hair, every day that I look at a new brush on an online shop to see if that'll help add some volume to the back there. And all of those like micro aggressions against myself, I'm stressing myself out precipitously about this idea of thinning my hair. And, you know, my background is my mom's side of the family, which I guess historically, genetically, you look at your mom's side of the family, see what's going on with the hair. I know for you, it's your dad's side.
Just one real quick side tangent.
Yeah.
There is a saying that says that you get your hair from your mother's side.
Okay.
Bollocks. My grandfather had a good amount of hair.
Where's it coming in?
That is bullshit. I try to tell myself that lie for the longest time. It does. Genetics. They don't work like that.
Yeah,
you don't just get hair from one side.
I'm pretty sure it's a random flip of the coin, right?
Absolutely.
But I guess in this case, it works out because all of my sister's brothers, they were bald from the top end by the time they were about 30. So when I reached 30 and everything looked great, I thought, all right, I'm good. I'm in the clear. And then last year I turned 38. And then that's where the thinning started. And now it's just like, I don't know if it's because I'm noticing it more or if it's actually happening. Probably a combination of both, because like you said, the stress factor. And I think maybe 2 weeks ago, I just told my wife, like, look, man, I'm not feeling good about this. My buddy's getting a hair transplant surgery done. Maybe I should do it. She's like, if you want to do it, fine. But number one, it's not that bad. And she's like, number two, you're stressing about it too much. It's making it worse.
Yep.
Number three, and this is her speaking, I'm getting white hair, and that makes me self-conscious about myself and my aging process and me not being as young and youthful and attractive as I used to be. And I said, you gotta shut up. Like, you're beautiful. Like, you've always been attractive to me, and that only grows on me more and more. And she told me, like, why can't you say that for yourself? I'm like, I know, but it's not a logical thing.
Standard, yeah.
It's just in my head. Like, I am seeing myself age, and I don't like it. And I want to age gracefully. Yes, but I'd rather have white hair, but still have hair.
Yep. I 100% agree with that. Hair is better than no hair, and give me the white hair.
Yeah. So it's weighing on me a lot. And that's the crux of why I wanted to have this conversation with you as well, is like to get it out there that I bet, and this is just my feeling, that every guy worries about this, whether or not they have a full head of hair. If that, as they age, that shoe will drop, perhaps quickly, perhaps slowly, but it'll happen where they're going to see themselves and see a bald spot, or just not who they thought they were always going to be, which is a youthful dude.
Yep. No, I mean, I would say for you, you are one of those people where you're thinking way too long down the line, in the sense of you don't need a hair transplant. There are so many other steps that it could fully bring back what you have now.
Yeah.
For example, somebody else in the gym who, when I started, had poor hair, and after forcing this person onto certain medications, has come back in strong ways.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just really like, though the drugs did save me back in the day, there's only so much they can do.
Yeah.
And you, sir, could definitely benefit from taking those drugs.
Okay, so there's two directions this conversation is going to take. Number one, what are the list of these drugs? What? Just give us a quick shopping list.
Minoxidil and finasteride.
Okay, what are these things? What do these things do?
So a common thing of male baldness is having too much testosterone.
Oh,
DNT, the chemical, and finasteride basically turns that part of your body off.
Don't you want to have testosterone though?
Well, yes, but also if you want hair, no.
So there's like a fine line.
Yes, it's not like a full cut off shut thing.
Yeah,
but it's removing the DNT that is what causes that build up and the dying of hair. This drug basically brings that number very close to zero.
Yeah.
Number two is minoxidil, is basically caffeine for your hair. It just gives your hair a real kick up the arse, and essentially it's just putting crack on top of your head.
Nice.
Sorry, I'm just looking at Ed walk down the stairs. These two are the only drugs you'll ever need. Anything else, all that shampoo or oil, I mean, yes, they have shown to be helpful. Yeah. But these are really the two that actually prove help. Okay. So my bet to you, I don't even think you need minoxidil. I think you could just do finasteride. And I think that you could have a really good bring back of like good amount of hair.
Sweet. I'll look on my local shops for that when I get back in the
Good try, because it's a very hard drug to get.
The other thing, the other direction is it such a bad thing? Could I just shave my head and be done with it?
Absolutely.
Right. So, because the other example is I have a really, like my best friend, my childhood friend, he shaved his head maybe 5 years ago. And he's never looked back. And he's still the same dude. Just not with that same head hair that he used to have. Like, we both were in the same band together, and we were both in a kind of like a hardcore band. So there was a lot of like front mullet, bleach tips. And he really led the charge with that. So he was known for his hair for a while until it was gone. And even now, when he doesn't have it, it has not changed who he is. So it's the whole thing about the internal versus external, where I don't know what his dialogue is with himself inside, but from the outside, it has not changed who he is, and it has not changed how I look at him. If anything, he's always been a stylish dude. Now he has a great rotation of hats. And that's nice to see. So Brandon, you know, shout out to you for being really inspirational in that. And maybe that's something I can consider for myself, is just like, I can just let that go. I don't know, like for you, is there an option to just shave your head one day?
There is, absolutely. And I think I've given myself that ability to do it after 30, but I don't know why. Something about me being in my 20s.
Yeah.
Because I think you could also say the same argument as that, well, look, you found somebody that you love.
Yeah.
And if they're okay with it, why not shave it? Why not save the money?
Yeah.
And that definitely has been a mindset of mine to be like, I'm very big about trying to save money for her, for us, for the future that's coming.
Yeah.
But I think there's also a level of like, if she was to turn around to me and say, I want this procedure, I say, why? And if the answer is, it will make me more confident, I will say, you've got my support 100%. Obviously, there is a discussion about what is that procedure. Like, I don't think that all procedures are always necessary, but if it does improve your confidence at the end of the day, then you go for it, girl. And for me, that I know it will do. It will also remove a huge amount of stress in my life. That is trying to hide it, trying to like find a way that people like. The amount of times I am looking at pictures of myself, and the first thing is not my smile, not the people around me, not the actual event itself, is looking at, can I see it?
That's where I'm at right now.
Yes. Too. And I want to be at a point where I just don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah.
And the third one is that it's trying, it goes into sort of hiding it. It's like almost watching people's eyes. If I meet someone for the first time, or if I'm like walking through the gym and people see me, or even if I like lean down, like I do a lot of low angle shots, and I've got to sort of tilt my head in a way that I could look at the screen, but also not bend fully forward so that people could see it.
Yeah.
I'm so done with that now. Yeah. I want to shave it all off, but give myself one last chance.
Okay.
To just fully like, come on.
Sweet.
Look beautiful.
The ticket's booked. The appointment's been, you said you scheduled it 3 months ago. So just real quick, just give us the math here. How many months is this recovery process going to be for you?
So it takes about a month. So 5 days of pure hell afterwards. That's the itchy. That's the itchy. That's head. Not being to shower. That's not being able to sweat. That's not being able to lie down. I've got to stay sleeping, sitting up. Like basically on a recliner. I don't have a recliner at home. I'm on the sofa with a big ass neck pillow. I am think economy, but with a little bit more padding. 5 days of hell. Eventually, after those 5 days, I'm good to go. But then that kicks in the next chapter of the shame, which is I'll almost already get past that because I've got to come back to work straight away. But the shame is where the redness goes away, but then you're left with this weird amount of hair that doesn't look real. And you have this weird line of where it essentially is healing. Right. Your skin is going back to its natural color. Another thing also taken into consideration is that in my time in Hong Kong, I have tanned a wee bit. My ass is whiter than my arm. But some of the whitest skin you have is your head. Right. So if you are like Ant, who is, I don't even know if Ant is not, I imagine his scalp now is probably tanned a bit. But my point I'm trying to make is that when you shave off your head, whatever skin you have all over your body, just remember that your ass is the color of your scalp, essentially. Yeah. I one time when I was younger, I didn't fully shave my head, but I cut it really short. I never had it short before. And then I kept thinking I was like Wesley Snipes in Demolition Man. There's a really brown dude with a very not highlighter, but the contrast was there. And that is where that I'm presuming you still had hair. Like there was like a good amount that was
Yeah,
still
yeah.
exactly. So now for me, we're going right down to the scalp.
Right.
We're not going razor like clean, but pretty damn close. So we're going to see that whiteness. So it's going to look weird. So after that 5 days, it's a lot of heads turning and being like, what did you do?
Yeah.
Why do you look like this? And me going to go, don't worry. Here's the reason why.
Although, because it is becoming more common, I assume now versus back in 2019, it'll be more like, I know what you did.
I think it's still jarring in the sense of you will still have people look, and that's still a confidence issue thing.
Yeah.
But I welcome it. I
And
welcome
it's
anybody to come
temporary.
over. Sorry?
It's temporary.
It's
as well.
very temporary. I welcome anybody to come over and ask me because they're gonna see it. If I've got to film group classes or events, you're gonna see some nasty stuff through this window. So after that, you have about 1 month after procedure where hair fully starts to kick in.
Okay.
Another thing to also note is that the hair that's transplanted dies. It has to die for the root to sort of kick
Okay, so
into
I've read about
gear.
this too, that like after a hair transplant, things grow, but then also you lose hair in the process. So it's like, oh no, I've made a huge mistake, but that's just part.
That's just part of it. Yeah.
Okay.
It will look strange, but trust me, it's fine. That hair has to die to come back stronger.
Okay.
So you get about 1 month where hair sort of has this weird dying transition, but after that month, you start to noticeably see hair being good. 3 months, you wouldn't even notice anything anymore. 6 months, depending on how quickly your hair grows, you're almost back to normal. And for me, hitting that 1 year mark will be when, I mean, I think almost 8 months. I think if I remember correctly, 8 months was the sort of sweet spot of like, I was back to what I originally had. So we'll see. But genuinely, they always say just 1 year. The recovery, the entire recovery time is 1 year. But that's sort of the timeline of things that you're going to be worried about, that you're going to have to deal with, and just suck it up.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, it's an investment.
Yeah.
You'll get it, and it will look absolutely terrible for that first month. But hey, stay inside and watch some movies. If it's that big of an issue for you.
No, I mean, I guess that's you being on the podcast to talk about this is like a testament to your comfort to talk about it and your confidence about the decision that you're making. And, whether you're talking to people who are asking you about that procedure and about their own hair situation, or people who are not talking about it because they don't want to discuss it and have that conversation with themselves. I think by you being outward and being really secure in your situation is really helpful for us to, think about it and wrestle with that concept and, have that conversation with your partner about, this is what's going on in my head because this is what's going on my head. What do I do?
Exactly.
And I really appreciate your candidness for the last 45 minutes. And I am more than excited to see you come back and just ask you all loads of questions and try to not make your head feel itchy. But I welcome the journey that we're all going to see together. And I think it's awesome that you're going straight back to work and being like, fuck it. Here it is. This is what you get. If you got any questions, fire away. Otherwise, I'm going to move on with my life.
Absolutely. I mean, one, I don't have that luxury. But at the same token, I think I just want to make one point before I leave.
Yeah.
I am not doing anything special. I'm paying a lot of money to have a first world problem resolved.
Sure.
I hold a lot more respect for the people who shave their head and wear like wigs and toupees. Those guys are confident, because in my mind, that is a whole different ball game of a discussion to be having with a partner or somebody that you're dating. Rather, here's what my issue is. I'm going to fix it. It's going to cost me money and it's going to look weird for a long time. But, we all have we have our own things that we are so conscious about,
For
things
sure.
that make us super stressed. For me, this is not the one thing. I have many, but this is the most outwardly showing one. And so for me, for my partner, for my confidence moving forward, I'm willing to have a little bit of pain to have a lot more ease in the future. And for anybody who is considering a hair transplant or is thinning, I guarantee you there is, as Chris said, there is so much acceptance now and so little care, and that it's an absolute great litmus test to see the response of people, because it's essentially just like going to the barber and having a bad haircut. Yes, it looks a bit worse than that. It looks like they've gone with the full garden rake to your head, but
Yeah, I was gonna say, buddy.
it is, I would equate it to the shock and horror of a bad haircut.
Okay.
It's a shock to the system that you've changed something about you that people have just recognized about you in your head, and they've got used to it. And that takes a day.
Yeah.
A week max. So jump in the deep end, get it done, but also finasteride, minoxidil, do that first.
If I choose to do it.
If you choose to do it.
Or just fuck it, whatever.
Yeah, fuck it. I think you could come back real strong if you did it. But yeah. Anybody who's listening to this, feel free to message me on Instagram. Like, I'm just going to be an open book about this.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
And we appreciate everyone's openness to talk about their journeys on our team. So thank you for letting us in on the start of your journey. And we will check back in a few months' time when you have your first model photo shoot with your new head of hair.
Yes, when it's a little bit shorter and a lot less red. Yes.
All right, Alex, thank you for being on the podcast today. And let's render off some videos that you got to do right now.
Cheers, boss.
See you, dude.